everyone, welcome back. Today is a fun video because we're going to be doing assumptions. I asked people on Instagram to send in their assumptions of me, and today I'm going to address a few of them. If you're unfamiliar with this concept, I basically asked people on Instagram to share their assumptions about me. Some of the assumptions are funny, some of them are about my personal life or about work, so I picked a few of them to address here and see if you guys are right or not. All right, so assumption number one is your goal for 2022 is to get your esthetician license. If I were maybe just getting started, like if this was a decade ago, I would maybe consider going to get my esthetician license. But here's the thing, at this point, the only reason why I would ever get an esthetician's license is not for the qualifications, but if I actually wanted to work on someone's skin. And that's really the reason to ever get your esthetician license, is not because you're gonna learn so much more. I mean, the programs are sometimes only like 6 months long. So it's not like you're gonna suddenly become this huge skincare expert. That actually takes time and knowledge and experience. So no matter what, just because you get the license doesn't mean that you're actually a skincare expert yet. You just like have this qualification to add to, I guess, like your list of qualifications. I'm not there anymore. I have a skincare line. I have an established YouTube channel. I think people who follow me know what they're gonna get as far as the advice that I give on skincare. And a lot of the time, I'm not really even giving advice as much as I'm giving, just like what I've learned or what I see, or just, I guess, knowledge. Like more like product knowledge is what I like to think. So am I gonna get my esthetician license? No, I have no desire to work on anyone's skin ever. You enjoy trying new skincare procedures, facials and treatments, etc. I think that one's pretty obvious. I, of course, love to try out new treatments and procedures. Honestly, if I could, I would probably be getting a new procedure or treatment done like every single week, but at the end of the day, you can't do that to your skin. So I do have to space everything out, and I just don't need all of the treatments that are out there. There are some treatments that are just very specific to different needs, right? So you can't get everything done just to get it done, but I do love the concept of different treatments and everything that's out there. There's so much more technology out there and so many new techniques. It's really fun learning about this. And that's kind of the basis of this channel. It really is what started my love for skincare, was learning about cosmetic treatments and, like speaking to so many doctors and experts in the field who are administering all of these different treatments, the dermatologists, the estheticians, the nurse practitioners, the PAs out there. They all do such really cool, fascinating stuff. And you have seen over the years that I have gotten so many treatments done, and I love sharing those experiences. Your car is messy. My car is not messy, but it's not because I'm not messy. And actually, I'm not a messy person. I'm just a disorganized person. I'm like a chaotic, organized person, if that makes sense. I have so much stuff, especially because so many products get sent to me, and I've actually tried to really narrow that down and like stop a lot of the PR that comes, because I really just don't feel like I need it. I only request products that I know I'm going to be using in a video or in content, or that I'm genuinely interested in at this point. But even at that, there are so many different things that arrive at my mailbox, so I'm definitely a disorganized person. But when it comes to my car, I think my car would actually be messier if it weren't for my husband. He's really like the yin to my yang. Like he definitely is like the person who wants everything to be organized, and he hates having a messy car. So I luckily have a husband who takes my car to get cleaned like once every 2 weeks or so. So he keeps it really organized and clean for me. This one's really sad. Because it might be true. You will never buy a house. You just really, really enjoy house hunting. I really want to buy a house. It has been a year of searching for a house now. And at this point, I think everyone's familiar with how crazy the housing market is. It's unbelievable to watch how much, prices have skyrocketed for homes, because I think everyone thought, like right at the very beginning of COVID, that maybe home prices were gonna go down. And I think there was like a month where home prices dropped because everyone was so uncertain of our futures and what was happening. But then home prices just skyrocketed, like out of control, crazy. And here in Los Angeles, homes were already overpriced to begin with, but now because of two really big factors. One, record low interest rates. Even though they're even raising interest rates right now, they're still much lower than they were just a few years ago. So there are still really low interest rates, and there aren't any homes to buy, which is also the issue. It's like a supply chain issue essentially, right? I mean, it's just out of control, especially in Los Angeles. I do enjoy going to see homes, but I've actually had to put this on hold for the last couple of months because it's also heartbreaking. I don't know if you've ever tried to go find a home, but if you are in the market for a house and you actually see a house that you start to envision yourself in and raising your family in, and you just get super excited about it. So you make an offer and then you get denied. After that happens a few times, you're so disheartened by the whole process that you have to take some mental breaks from it because it does become pretty emotional and heartbreaking. And I think that my husband and I have really experienced that over this past year. So we've, taken a little bit of a break. We will definitely start back up. So are we never gonna buy a house? Man, I hope we're going to buy a house. But as of right now, it's so up in the air. You actually have time to sleep. I wish I had time to sleep. I'm actually the kind of person who doesn't get enough sleep. I've always kind of been this way where I can only really get myself to sleep 6 hours a night. Even before I had children or anything really stressful happening in my life, I've always just had a little bit of underlying anxiety, I think. And so that's always made me a bad sleeper. But you add to it now, my different businesses, you add 2 children, you add, a little bit of older age, and suddenly sleep is such a hard thing. It's so fleeting for me. I, sometimes average 3 to 4 hours a night because I have so much anxiety. I have so much to do, or my baby is crying in the middle of the night and then I can't go back to sleep because the minute I've been woken up, I'm wide awake and thinking about stuff for work or for my kids or something that I forgot to do for my kids or for work. It's really never ending for me. I think my mind is just always constantly going. So no, I don't have time to sleep. I have 0 time, in fact. I'm always stressed out. This one's funny to me. Your pregnancies were a breeze. No pregnancy is a breeze. I don't know. I think, you know what? I'm on social media. And so what you're seeing on social media, even if I'm trying to be very authentic and show you what really happens, it just kind of doesn't happen that way, right? Everything on social media is a choice. When you are posting it, you're choosing to post about it. And so it's hard to say that you got a really good view of what was happening during my pregnancies because everything is so curated. It really is. Even when you try so desperately to put only the real stuff out there, you can't help it. It's just the way social media is. And I think everyone should really keep that in the back of their minds. When you see somebody's pregnancy or their life on social media, it's never 100% real. And so it might have looked like my pregnancies were a breeze. And I'd say that my first pregnancy was definitely easier than my second pregnancy. But no matter what, I wasn't sharing, all the stuff that I was feeling. You're always so scared when you're pregnant. You're worried about every little thing that could go wrong with your pregnancy. Then you're worried about, going into labor. You have back pain, you feel huge like a whale, you can't move, you're bloated, you have backaches. I still have backaches from my pregnancies. You just don't sleep well. There's so many different things that happen. Pregnancy is not necessarily easy. If you enjoy it, that's a whole different concept than having an easy pregnancy. And I think that's what people need to remember is nothing's easy when it comes to pregnancy and babies. And when you start to really take a step back and reflect on pregnancy, it's scary and it's hard, no matter what. That you've got a rich husband and therefore can do whatever you want career-wise. I'll tell you what, I wish I had a rich husband. It's so funny, I guess I find myself doing this sometimes too, and just assuming that anybody who's doing a career that's, especially in entertainment, especially when it's a woman, you assume they must have a rich husband, right? Who can just allow them to do whatever they want, or they must come from money. But the reality is, I don't have a rich husband. My husband works really hard for everything that he has. I have worked really hard to, be where I'm at in my career too. I will give credit though. My husband did hold down the fort for a second when I started mixed makeup. I had quit my day job. I didn't have that much money saved, but I saved just enough money to get by 2 months of rent and expenses and everything if I needed to. And, we took a chance basically. My husband even expressed his worry when I said that I was quitting my day job. And we always knew that if this didn't work out, the backup plan was I would have to find another job pretty quickly too if it didn't seem like this was gonna work out. I definitely don't have a rich husband. He has worked very, very hard. He definitely helped. And I think that's something to always acknowledge for anybody that's thinking about, quitting their job and starting their own business, any kind of business, whether that's an influencer or a content creator or starting some kind of, store or, marketing business, anything that you're deciding to do, it is absolutely helpful to know that there is another person, a spouse or a partner who can at least hold down the fort when it comes to your very basic bills. There's no doubt that that helps. But I had already been pretty deep in my career. I was already 32 years old when I decided to quit my day job. So I had a lot of experience and knowledge, and I felt very confident in what I was doing. And now, you know what? It's good that my husband decided to take that chance with me and hold down the fort because I'm the rich husband. You're the less strict parent. Why do I come off as the person that's not strict? I'm always the strict parent. It's actually infuriating to me because my husband really is living such a chill life, in my opinion. It gets me so mad. Like, I'm so happy for him, and then I'm so angry all the time too because I'm like, ugh, how does he get off being like the cool parent? And I'm always the one that has to tell our kids what they can and can't do and why this is wrong and why this is, the way that they should be. I'm always the strict parent. I really believe that children thrive with structure. And when you're not a parent who's trying to just be their best friend, like I'm really loving and I'm really good about explaining to my kids, what it is, I guess like the reasoning behind any decisions that we're making. And as they're getting a little bit older, they're starting to really understand that. And when I explain to them, like why they have to go to sleep even though they don't want to, or why they should eat their vegetables, like there are all these little things that I'm really strict about, but I feel like my kids are starting to understand why. And what's funny in turn is they always end up wanting me instead of my husband, even though he's like Mr. Cool Dad. Because you would think that as a stricter parent, they might, I guess, like me less or something, but they are obsessed with me and I'm obsessed with my kids, so works out. You truly hate double cleansing. Ha ha ha. I, of course, love double cleansing. Double cleansing is the thing. Like if there's anything that I'd say completely changed my skin and my outlook on my skin and I don't know, just my skincare routine, it is double cleansing. So do I hate double cleansing? No, I love double cleansing. It is such a game changer for your skincare routine. And I also feel like, once you get into the groove of double cleansing, you actually just can't imagine not double cleansing. You miss when skincare wasn't as popular. No. Okay, wait. This is like a two answers. There are two answers to this one. So, do I miss when skincare wasn't as popular? Sort of, because it was so much more fun to talk about skincare without having to deal with people, telling you that you're wrong or, you're not an expert. That stuff, the criticism, that never used to happen. But it was over the last 2 years that I feel like, you get just as much support as you get criticism for talking about skincare. But that said, I wouldn't necessarily go back to the way it used to be because it also felt like I was constantly trying to fight to make skincare a thing. Makeup used to be so popular on social media, and obviously it still is very popular because I think it just clicks for people a lot easier than skincare does. But I was always really trying to make people understand that you need to have good skin and work on your skin. It's the best base for your makeup. You can't have perfect looking makeup if your skin's, out of control. So I feel like it's so great that so many more people are interested in skincare. There's obviously like a community now online for skincare influencers and content creators, and that's great because I never had anybody I could talk to in the past. Like it's seriously only in the past 2 years have I felt like there's this community around skincare now. And obviously I've personally benefited from skincare becoming way more popular, so I wouldn't take that back. Do I wish that it wasn't as popular anymore? No, that would be the worst thing to say. This is what we have been working towards, is making skincare more popular. You're a very fancy woman that wears high heels often. So I would like to be a very fancy woman. I think it's one of my goals in life. Deep down inside, I definitely want to be a fancy woman, and I used to try to be much more of a fancy woman before I had kids, and also before the pandemic where we suddenly just started living in our pajamas at home all day. And I used to wear high heels all the time, and I still do when the occasion calls for it, but I don't really have as many opportunities though to be a fancy woman. It just doesn't make any sense when you're a mom of young kids. You have to wear flats or you're gonna fall and break your ankle or something if you're trying to wear high heels all the time. So I definitely try to be fancy when I go out to dinner, if I have meetings and for work and everything. But half of the work now is just sitting in front of my computer at this point, so maybe even more than half of my work. And even now, I'm wearing, ta-da! some Uggs with some sweats underneath, you know, like on the bottom. So there's just, you know, I'm like a half fancy person, I guess, a half fancy woman. Your skin somehow never gets irritated even though you're always testing products, product testing. Okay, so this is a skill. This is something that I've learned about my skin over the past decade. When I first started off as a beauty editor, I was getting so many free products in PR that I was just really excited. And this was like in my late 20s especially. I was just trying so many different things, and I started to realize what didn't work for my skin and what did work for my skin, and kind of how to, I guess, like tiptoe into trying new products without irritating your skin or causing it to break out. So I've really mastered this skill. I know my skin really well. Granted, there are definitely times where when I'm trying like different actives, you know, like different retinoids or, you know, like strong exfoliants, I have to really pay attention when I'm doing that, because there are definitely still times where it can sneak up on me a little bit and my skin can get irritated. But on the flip side of that, I then also know how to just really back off and take care of my skin for a while so that it, you know, gets right back to normal, and then I can start back into testing. You think Skinfluencers are overcomplicating skincare? Haha, haha. I put haha after everything too. I don't know why. I think it's a habit, right? When you start to become that haha person or the LOL person, it's like all you do, or the emoji person. Anyway, let's see. Do I think Skinfluencers are overcomplicating things? I guess sometimes, you know, when there's like a lot of misinformation, or what are they saying nowadays, like disinformation, when influencers are putting out the wrong information, that definitely overcomplicates things. But I think that stems from even bigger reasons, right? Like if brands are really pushing wrong information, and retailers are pushing wrong information, and celebrities are pushing wrong information, that's like the first level of complication when it comes to skincare. And it was, you know, one of the reasons why I started the skincare reactions a while back was I wanted to, you know, make sure that people understood that this isn't necessarily the right thing when it comes to these skincare products and application and what's in them and everything. So I definitely think that's like the first round. Like that's actually where a lot of the complications come from, and it's not really Skinfluencers. I feel like Skinfluencers are out there trying to combat all of that wrong information, but in turn, sometimes that gets overcomplicated, right? Like I know that I try to really simplify everything that I'm saying. Sometimes I oversimplify, and that can, like, you know, make some people a little bit angry too, as I've seen in comments, but I try to oversimplify because that's what I do as like a journalist, with a background in journalism. I mean, that's what I've been taught, is to basically try to regurgitate information from experts, but in a more simplified manner. And so I think that's the best way to handle things. So sometimes do I think it gets overcomplicated? For sure. But at the same time, I think, you know, you always hear me say this, I think it's good to find your people online, all the people that you want to get your information from. It's good to hear the different opinions that are out there. It's good to see, you know, sometimes like what someone in science might say, but then to also hear, you know, an opposing opinion, because I think that when it comes to skincare especially, and even when it comes to science, it's always changing and evolving. So it's good to have all this information. Can it get complicated? Sure. Okay, this one's fun. You don't want to step away from being an influencer simply because it's fun. There are definitely times lately, I think over the last 2 years, because social media has become almost daunting. I feel like there are so many people on social media that feel this burnout. It has nothing to do with creating content, because I still think that part of it is so much fun. The thing that makes it daunting is that social media companies are so competitive with each other. So like Facebook, Meta, Instagram, is, you know, like really trying to trump like TikTok, and then TikTok's trying to take over YouTube and Google, and, you know, Facebook also wants to take over that. And then there's like Twitter is trying to like make its way in there. I don't know how, but it's trying, right, to like create its own vibe and become a thing too. And, you know, when all of this competition starts to happen, these social media apps put it on content creators to have to utilize every single change that they're making. And that becomes really stressful. And you've probably heard, you know, lots of content creators talk about the algorithm. When it comes to this like elusive algorithm, it's like the Wizard of Oz. Like you don't really know what is actually happening, right? It's all kind of like a big guess for people. But if you want to do well on social media and, you know, have lots of views and engagement, then you have to utilize every single tool and change that these apps are putting out there for you. And I think that there's like this added level of you feel like you don't know what you can say or post about anymore without getting criticized. I think that's a really big part of why people are feeling so burnt out as content creators. On the flip side, there's a lot of reward for being an influencer. You get to make a living, sometimes a very good living. You can make a lot of money as an influencer as you continue to grow. You kind of get to choose what your life is. But there's so many different things to it. So do I choose to be an influencer just because I think it's fun? That is definitely an aspect of it. I have been doing this for so long that I almost can't imagine not doing it. That said, I feel like I do this more so because I think the underlying assumption here is that I must be so successful since I have a skincare line and my business is doing well that I don't need to be an influencer. But I think, you know, at the end of the day, this is still my job, and this is still one of the main ways that I make a living and make money and support my family. So I choose to do this for a couple of reasons. One, I actually do really love doing this, and I can't imagine, you know, having a different kind of job at this point. Two, I have a community. I love my skincare community. And I feel like a lot of the time these are my friends now because either we have something in common that we talk about almost daily. There are some people I message back and forth with on a daily basis just because it's become, you know, like we're friends and we have something in common that we want to talk about. And last, this is still one of the ways that I make a living. So you know, it's obviously a very good living. I feel very good about everything right now, and I like to keep it that way. You don't care that you launched Naturium the wrong way and won't speak about it ever again. So I guess people will be surprised that I'm even talking about this and addressing it because I really don't talk about it much. But the reason for that is mostly because what I've learned is you can't ever win. You will never say anything right, no matter what. I already told people that I didn't sign on officially as the co-owner and founder until mid-June, which was way past, you know, all of the stuff that was being thrown at me online. And two, there's just so much more to the story. There always is. When it comes to business, there's just so much more that happens behind the scenes. I could sit down and try to share that, but again, it goes back to you can never win. Like everything gets picked apart and everyone tries to spin it and turn it into drama, and it turns into like entertainment value for people, and that's really not what I want to focus on. For me, the most important thing to focus on with Naturium is creating an amazing brand and focusing on the people who support the brand and love the brand and making sure everybody that supports the brand is getting amazing products, great ingredients, all at an amazing price. And also in a really great retailer. It is so important to me that we do well in Target and just make sure that everybody feels very happy with the brand. That's really what it comes down to. And so I focus all my energy there. Last assumption is you've worked hard to get where you are today and are in a good place with your mental health. Yes, I have worked really, really hard. I feel I feel like I really can see now as I look back on the past couple decades of my career, and I can really see that path and like how I got here, and I feel very satisfied with that. It's so funny to think back on, you know, like your early 20s when you graduate college. Even when you're in college, you're kind of like, what am I doing with my life? Where is this going? What is the meaning of life? And you know, you go through so many different experiences, both good and bad in your career. You sometimes wonder, is this all worth it? And now I look back and I'm like, wow, I think this was worth it. Even the bad experiences, I think it was worth it because I feel really satisfied where I'm at right now in my career, and I am in a very good place. I love, you know, my family. I feel very grateful that we're happy and we're healthy and we love each other. I feel grateful for my friends. And, you know, I think this past couple of years has really shown everybody, you know, to, I guess, be grateful and appreciate all of the things that you have. And I really do feel that way. I feel very, very appreciative and grateful for everything that I have. So yeah, I am. I'm in a good place. Thanks for asking or assuming. So those were the assumptions. There were so many more, but I didn't want to make this like an hour-long video. If this video does well and you want to see more, then we can do this all over again. So give this video a thumbs up. Find me on Instagram at Susan Yara. You can also comment if you have any other assumptions in the comments below, and I can try to answer a few more of them. But until then, I'll talk to you guys soon.